Okay, so first of all, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon and good night, whichever part of the world you are today. It's a pleasure to have you back here in this last webinar for this October month for Ecler. Okay, we still have some more surprises to come, but we wanted to close this month with a series of solutions, examples, and configurations for the newly released Hub series. And we hope that you enjoyed this webinar. Good morning, Rasul, for you as well. Just a couple of things we wanted to point out here before we start, okay? We're going to be doing the whole webinar first, and then down in the bottom of your bar, the bottom part of the screen, you have the Q&A section where you can drop your questions, and we will be answering them at the end of the webinar. Okay, so for today, we're going to be having Jan Pages here, guiding us through the solutions and examples we prepared for you, especially focused on education and corporate markets. So please enjoy. Drop your questions if you have them. We're going to answer them at the end of the session. Thank you, everyone. And Jan, all yours.
All right. Thanks, Jose. Good morning, everyone. I am Jan, area manager here in Ecler. Most of you probably already know me. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining. Let's start. With some, well, we'll see, basically we'll go deep in the Hangar, the web application that is embedded already in the Hub series to configure the devices. But first, let's locate the Hub in the Ecler digital matrices range. All right, you know, we have the MIMO range and the DAM614. We locate the Hub exactly in the middle. Meanwhile, MIMO are controlled with EclerNet Manager, DAM is controlled with EclerCom, Hub 1616 and Hub 1408 in the middle are managed through the Hangar, okay, the embedded web application. This is what we can connect to a hub. We saw this in the presentation of the product, but I just want to highlight a couple of things that are important to later understand where do we put or where do we locate every input and output. All right, basically inputs. It's important to know that the paging inputs are input 7 and input 8 in the Hub 1616. All right, in Hub 1408, it's the inputs 5 and 6. And we have that important that we have 4 modules of priority. So other 2 inputs are for ducking purposes, making a total of 4 different priorities between ducking and paging. What we use for paging is our paging station, EM-Page, a paging station with 16 zones, buttons of selecting all, clear, paging, and even a couple of programmable buttons.
Jan, sorry for
yep.
bothering you now.
Yep.
I have a couple of requests that people are seeing the PPT in the small screen. So we can enlarge it there in the view formats that you have for the Zoom. You have the standard or the gallery one.
Sorry, again, what's the matter?
That I think people are watching the PPT just in small. I see the little screen, the PPT. I don't know if they see you or no. Sorry, I think they have to change it to the way they want to view the presentation. I'm sorry.
Okay. I am seeing it in full screen. Do I have to change anything? No, I believe not, right?
No, if you put it like that, then it has to be them who has to switch it to that mode. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Okay. No. Okay. All right. So, well, if many people is having problems, please say it, and we will stop and identify what is the issue. But it should be on your side.
Right.
All right. So this is the pager we are using, the EM-Page. Okay. So we'll connect it through to the input 7 or 8 in the Hub 1616. Other important things are to locate the local inputs, what we separate, the local inputs and the remote inputs. Okay, here in the left side of the screen, we have the remote inputs. Sorry, pagers to input to paging inputs and remote inputs. What do we connect here in the remote inputs? control to control volumes or selection and tone control through this panel, wall panel, EM control 1, okay? The one compatible with the hub series. Through this Cat5 cable, we already power the device, so we don't need an additional power supply. And through this Cat5 cable is traveling the control, okay? Additionally, we can connect this EM control to a WPA mix T to add an audio signal. WPA mix T is a wall panel that is actually a mixer, 2x1 mixer. So now in the Cat5 cable, we have both power, control, and a balanced audio signal going into the remote input 1. So we use the remote ports for both controlling and adding audio inputs. Once this is clear, yep.
Sorry to jump in, but I think, yes, now I understand the problem. Some recommended me if you can switch off the camera so we can see if because they see the image in the corner there.
Yeah.
Okay. And okay. I'm waiting to see if it's working now. Okay. And apologies for this delay, but it seems like I don't know if it's everybody, but a couple of them already have this issue. So we're working on fixing it. Okay. Let me check.
Is it better now?
Check. Okay. Here. That works. Okay. Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much. I think it works now.
All right.
No, they cannot see the PPT right now, so
they cannot.
Yeah, they say Simon said that works.
Okay.
If you wanna, if in this case, I don't know if you wanna, for example, try again, get out of the full screen and switch on the mode of this of the view from the Zoom.
Let me stop sharing screen and sharing screen again.
Okay, great. I think it's a good idea. We'll start there. Yes, we're working on it. We're receiving in the chat people that still can't see it. Okay. Okay.
What about now?
Wait, let me check here. Okay, now it's working.
Now it's working. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank
All right.
you.
So thank you. And sorry for the hassle. All right. So we were saying that this is important to know, to be taken into account. All right. Paging, ducking inputs, and remote inputs. So the final possible solution would be to have a couple of players in input 1 and 2, a couple of microphones in inputs 5 and 6. For example, we have a phantom switch here in the back of the hub, a couple of paging station, then control plus additional inputs in the remote ports. We have this mute port where we can mute all the outputs that we want. We can choose actually how many of them do we want to mute. Then all 16 outputs can go to a couple of eGPAs 8x150. And then we connect the device to the network. From this network, when users are connected with their smartphones to the same network in the same wireless LAN, they will be able to see the panels that we will create and control the system, whatever access we gave to them. And we will configure all this through the Hangar. Okay, now we're there. Hangar, the web application embedded in the hub series. And we will see the Hangar basically through examples, which is the best way to show it. We have two ways to connect to Hangar. First one is you can do it yourself, is going to this link, ecler.com/hub series demo. Like this. Okay, you should see the Jose, just confirm to me, are you seeing now the Chrome, my Hangar demo?
Yes, we're watching the Explorer. Yes.
Okay, perfect.
The Hangar login area.
Okay, good.
Great.
So we can operate Hangar from the demo version available in our website, or if we have the hub with us already, by clicking these two buttons, the control button and the rotary encoder key, for 3 seconds, it will appear here in the LCD screen the IP that is assigned to the hub, because by default, hub has DHCP pre-configured. So whenever your router or switch is having the HCP active, it will get an address. So if you can see it here and you go to the browser and connect, you will see the same screen. Okay, we logged in as, let me log out again or start a new one. We logged in as admin, okay, user access and admin to go to the configuration. We could choose here between hub 1616 or hub 1408. This is for the demo mode. So we go to the 1616 admin. And we can start with the first example. We'll try to go a little bit, well, to keep a good rhythm, because otherwise we will not have time to finish everything. It's not difficult at all, okay? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a sales guy doing the presentation. So first example, let's go. We have a business school project, okay? The first example is in the education market. The second one, we'll see it's in corporate, but the philosophy for the product it remains. The first project that we have is this. The client gives us this plan with his business school with a reception area, 4 classrooms here in the bottom, a corridor, an auditorium, and a canteen, okay? So with this, we guess that we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 rooms, 8 zones with the following needs. I'm going to read everything, okay, here in the screen. First, we need to play background music from AnyPlayer 1, streaming background music in any area. Another player will be playing daily announcements only to the common areas. Common areas are reception, corridor, and canteen. Second need, every classroom and the auditorium will have a local input, and the teacher or presenter may be able to choose to play from the local source, from a local source in the classroom, or to play the general background music. 3, every teacher or presenter may control the audio system, that is volume, source selection, and tone control, from both their own smartphone and from a wall control panel that we will install, okay? And 4, an EM paging station will be located in the reception. So receptionist will be able to control all areas. Well, additionally, receptionist will be able to control all areas from the reception tablet. Additionally, the canteen tablet will only control the canteen volume. So that is not source selection, not tone control, only the volume. And this volume will be limited to 70%. Okay. Okay, so with all this information and the map, we have we can already extract all the information that we need. And to configure this, we need actually 5 things. First, to know the outputs, what is the number of outputs we need and what are they? The inputs. For every input, we will have to take into account if it will be a local input or a remote input for the connection in the backside of the hub, and if it has to be an input for paging or docking. Okay, it's not the same if we connect it to input 1 or input 7. Remember that. We need to know how many remote wall panels. This is the EM control 1. How many remote wall panels do we need and where are they? And finally, for purposes of the application, of the pilot application, how many users do we need? How many users are there in this installation? And how many pilot panels will we create? Okay. First, we identify the outputs. We have 8 zones, classroom 1, 2, 3, 4, then auditorium, reception, corridors, and canteen. So let's go to the configuration site of the Hangar. Well, once we log in, here we see the configuration page. with network information, status of the device. Here we have the option to load a file or save our current project, restore defaults or recovery factory setup. And then we have here the predefined setups. If our project matches to the predefined setups, if we had 16 zones mono and 2 sources only, we would just load this predefined setup and the configuration would be done. Okay, this is not the case. So we're going to configure first our outputs. All right, so we go here in the left side, we have the menu, outputs. And what we would do now is here are all outputs, 1 to 8 here on the top, 9 to 16 in the bottom. For every output, we have this selection button. We can also select all of them here. Okay, selection button, and we can rename it. We will rename this one to classroom 1, right? We could make it a stereo couple with the second channel. We could invert the polarity if the connection was inverted. We can enable or disable the muting from that mute port that we saw when a circuit is closing. We tell here if this channel will be muted or not. From this point also, we can control the treble, middle, and bass. We can select what source is connected now to this output. And we have here a limiter of the volume, okay, between minimum and maximum. For the classroom, we won't put any minimum or maximum. And then we have options to configure delays. Okay, we should just activate it. Delays, crossovers, graphic EQ, or compressors, limiters. Okay. Now I should relabel every output from 1 to 8, but what I did is that I already did this project, so I'm going to load it. So all the business school, this one. So all the names are already modified. Job done. Okay, so now you see classroom 1, classroom 2, 3, 4, auditorium, reception, canteen, and corridors. All right. Even here in the auditorium, I think we already did. Oh no, we can do some graphical EQ to enhance the voice, whatever. Okay. Everything available here. Second thing that we need to know: inputs. Remember that we have an ePlayer for background music. This will be a local input connected to input 1, for example. We have another player for daily announcements, but daily announcements have to go to common areas. And these announcements logically will have priority over the background music. So we will connect it to a priority input, for example, the Docker input number 5. Number 5 and 6, remember, are for docking. Number 7 and 8 for paging. So the paging station will be a local input in the paging input number 7. And then all local inputs in every classroom and auditorium will be connected to the remote ports. All right, so let's go. Inputs. Here we have the menu of inputs. Every input is already named, so we have, here is the streaming BGM. We can change the name to ePlayer 1. Daily announcements are here in local input 5 for ducking. Here, local input 6 has a noise gate active, and we don't need this, so we are going to disable it. Okay. In the input, we have a high pass filter and a noise gate, different than from the outputs. In the input 7, we have the paging station. All right, that's fine. And then we have local inputs from 1 to 8 here in the top, and in the bottom we have the remote inputs. Class 1 remote input, class 2 remote input, class 3, 4 auditorium remote input, and that's all. We don't need the other 3. Okay, so this would be done. Now we should configure the daily announcements and the paging station. Okay, let's go here. In the pagers Dockers module. So here we have all the priority inputs Docker in 5, 6, 7, and 8. In the number 5, we have the Docker that is playing daily announcements to the common areas. So not in the classrooms. So that's why we here enable or disable the classrooms and auditorium, and we enable the common areas, reception, canteen, and corridors. All right. Here we set priority 4. We could make it priority 2. Okay, between the 4 levels, not 1, because I would leave the 1 for the paging messages. So at least priority 2 here. We also set here all the noise gate parameters. Okay, when are we going to override the other signals? And also we're going to configure here the pager in the input 7 with priority 1. Here we would select if we want a pager or a Docker. Okay. Paging, we will be able to page to all zones. Okay, well, we only have 8 zones, but we could be able to page to all zones. And then here with this option here, we would configure what are the zones affected to function 1 button. Okay, so the F1 would go to these 3 zones, to the common areas, reception, canteen, and corridors again. So whenever the receptionist wants to page to only common areas, she or he would press F1 and it would go to the common areas. Okay, so this is it, and we can choose the chime melody as always or silent it. Okay. Okay. Once we're done with this, I think inputs or outputs are all set. So next step is to identify how many remote wall panels do we have? Remote wall control panels. Okay, remember the remote wall control panel is the EM control 1. All right, the wall panel compatible with the hub, and we will have 5 of them, 1 in every class and in the auditorium. So let's go to configure the remote panels here in the hub, in the Hangar. We have created 5 remote panels. Okay, it admits all these 8 remote panels because we have 8 remote ports. So to create, well, to enable them, if we would create, we could create a 6th one. We would enable it. Then here we would enable or disable volume, source, and equalization. Okay, what we want to control, if it's only volume here, if it's only source here. Okay. And then here in edit, we would give a name to every remote panel. We would inform what zone is it targeting. Okay. And what sources are allowed in that zone to be played. What are the options of source selection? No source, between ePlayer 1 and a local source. Okay, let's go to we'll see it better here in classroom 1. In classroom 1, we have this name, remote classroom 1. It's targeting the output 1, going to classroom 1. And allowed sources are no source, the ePlayer 1 for background music, or the classroom 1 remote input, that's in input number 9, or the remote input number 1 that we already configured in inputs. Then we can also set the LCD settings if we want it dimmed, normal, or off, and even choose the brightness of the backlight. Okay, and we would do this for every EM control that we connect to the hub. So we are done with the remote wall control panels. Then, well, with every remote control panel, remember that we would have now the EM control plus the WPA mix T. So to have in that Cat5 cable, audio and control, audio, whatever we connect to the WPA mix T, and control for the EM control to control that zone. This would be it with the control panels, with the physical control panels. Now, there is only left to do the pilot panels. So the panels that will be seen from the application, okay? From the pilot application. For this, we need to first identify what are the users. Who are the users? We will need a user in class 1, a user in class 2, another one in class 3 auditorium. One user will be in reception, and there will be another user in the canteen. Remember, the needs told us every teacher presenter will be able to control the system of that area of his classroom from both the wall control panel and from the phone application. So we will have to create a user for them for the phone application, the pilot application. The same for all classes and auditorium. Then the reception will be able to control all areas in the school. And then the canteen will only be able to control the volume in the canteen. Okay, so first we have to identify the users. These are all of them, and we have to create them, only create them. We are not thinking now in permissions or anything like that, only creating the users. To create a user, we just enable, we can create up to 20 users. Okay, we enable it, we give it the name and the password, and that's everything. Okay, I could create another user here, enable it, Jan, and password 123, 1234. Type password 1234. Okay, and here is my name, and that's only for creating the users. Okay, remove, yes. Once users are created, very easy. By the way, I gave password 000 to all of them. Okay, once users are created, we have to know what are the panels that we need. Okay, we will need one. We have to think on when we think about the panels. It's the same as we thought about remote control or remote wall control panel. Okay, every panel will control at least, or will control one zone. Okay, so we'll have one panel controlling classroom 1, one other panel controlling classroom 2, etc. Okay, excepting only a specific case of this panel here controlling reception, corridor, and canteen that we will see. But this is a very specific case. Generally, panels will control one zone. Okay, so okay, we go to pilot panels here in our menu, and if we see this classroom 1 panel that we already created, we could create one panel from 0. I can create this classroom. When creating a panel, we have all these options, a general menu, and then menus for volume control, source selection, equalizer, the 3 things we can control, and then the color of the panel itself. Okay, we can change the color of the text of the controls and the background color as well. Okay, for the volume, source selection, and equalizer, we have basically 3 controls here, 3 options. One is to enable disable, the second one is to give it a name, volume, and the third one is to choose the style of the control, if it's a knob, if it's a slider, or if it's up and down buttons. For the source selection, the same, enable disable, give it a name, and allowed sources. What are the sources that we will be able to choose from this panel? So no source, ePlayer 1, daily announcements, okay, any source we can choose here. And then the equalizer, the tone control, again, enable, disable, and the same as the volume, choose the style of controlling, knobs here or sliders. Finally, the general volume. Here is where we enable or disable the panel. Make it public or private means if the panel will be seen by everyone who has access to pilot application and that hub, or it will be only a private panel for a specific user, because we don't want other people messing with the volumes in the classrooms. We have to make this panel private, okay? And only the teacher will be able to operate it, okay? So we label the panel here, we give it a name, whatever comment that we want to put, okay? Here we specify if it's a general volume panel or not, okay? It is not. It's not for the general, it's not for the whole volume of the whole of all the areas, it's for a specific area. So we want it for the zone classroom 1, correct? If we enabled general volume, you see that zone was disabled suddenly because it would affect all areas, okay? So no, we don't want it general volume, we want it to affect only to the classroom 1. And what users can operate this panel? Okay, then the user in classroom 1, his password is 0000, by the way. And also the receptionists, okay? The user in the reception will be also able to operate this panel. And the panel save, and the panel would be created like this. Classroom 1 with this comment, and here with this I, we can see how the panel looks. Oh, okay. So this is the volume. Well, I chose these colors, okay. But let's remove this one I just created. Classroom 1 panel was already created here. Here we see that we can see the panel is enabled. It's not public. We can control volume, source selection, and equalization. Here we can see how the panel looks. Okay, volume, source selection, and EQ. And here we would edit the panel. Here we would copy the panel into a new one or delete it. Okay, this we would do this for all these panels, right? For class 1, 2, 3, 4, auditorium, and the canteen. Remember, in the canteen, for example, we will only enable the guy to control the volume, right? So now he's controlling volume, source selection, and bass mid treble. So no, we're gonna edit this panel and disable the source selection and disable the tone control. So now this guy in the canteen is only controlling the volume. We see it here, okay? And if we go to the panel itself, it's a slider that only controls the volume. Okay, let's go for this special panel, all right? One panel controlling several zones. This can only be made once, okay, in every project, because what we are using is the general volume. Remember that I told you before, is this a general volume panel or not? If it's a general volume panel, it will affect all the areas, all right? So here, this panel is marked as a general volume panel. So we don't choose the zone here, but here in the left side in the menu, we have a specific option to control only or to manage only the general volume. Here we select what are the outputs affected for the general volume, okay? And here, instead of being all selected, we selected only the common areas, so the areas that we are interested in. So the only way to target several zones with one panel is through the general volume, okay? And it can be only made once, okay? Because there is only one general volume. And here we can change the label. We can, by default, it's general volume. We can switch it to this or to common areas or whatever. We can also set a minimum and a maximum. and we will not be able to go above the maximum. Okay, so we're done with the panels. Let's go. So remember that every pilot panel is controlling its own zone, correct? The reception corridors and canteen is controlling 3 different zones, and the canteen panel is controlling the canteen. And then users. Which users are controlling every panel? 1 user per class and auditorium, and then the canteen is controlling the canteen panel, but the reception is controlling all of them. Remember that in all of them, in every panel, we have in classroom 1, for example, we modify this. We select users, not only classroom 1, but also classroom 1 and reception, and this for all panels. Okay, so both users can access this panel. Okay. So with this, the configuration would be done already. Okay. The next step would be only for the users to download the pilot. Okay, the pilot application from Google Play or Apple Store. Once they have the pilot and they are in the same network, they would discover the hub where they have to connect. And the second step is just to log in with their username and password to see their own private panels. Okay, and then they would see the volume control, source selections, and tone control if they are allowed to. Okay. As mentioned before, tips. If a project that we have matches our predefined setups, it's like, well, good luck, because we will save a lot of time doing the configuration, because this is the configuration that is already pre-charged, pre-loaded in the hub 1616. Okay, in the hub 1408, it's this one. It's 2 sources and 8 zones mono. Okay, if we have something like this, then it's a plug and play, is a totally plug and play matrix. Okay, these are, by the way, in the quick guide. All right, we are on time, I think. So we will go with the example number 2. Okay. The second example is for corporate environment. Okay. Same philosophy behind the Hangar. You see that in a very affordable price range there between DAM 614 and MIMO 88SG, you have a lot of inputs and outputs. You probably don't need them all the time, but the features that you get, such as the control options mainly, and this a little bit of DSP, makes it a very resultant product, in the way that you might not need 16 zones, or you might not need 16 zones like in that school, but still, for the price point where we are, we get all these features of control, of the control wall panels, the pilot application, that are only available normally in the high-end devices. So let's go for the example. Let's go for the corporate example. Imagine that we receive this email. Okay. It says, "Dear friends, we need you to provide us an audio system for our office. Basically, we want to be able to choose if we play music from streaming with the player that we already have, or from the PC in the reception desk. We want to control everything through our phones. We don't want tablets and dedicated touch screens all around the office. We have 3 separate zones: an open space office, a meeting room with local connection, and the director's office. she wants to have her own music. If an emergency happens, an evacuation message player will launch messages that have to be heard in all areas, overwriting whatever is playing. Okay, that also already gives us a tip. Although our budget is modest, please be aware that we are extremely busy and we don't want to worry for this system. So please include in your proposal something that is actually reliable. Okay, when a client says this, you automatically say, okay, Ecler, I'm going to go with Ecler. That's very clear, right? Then he says, we would like to be sure that we won't need to call you every 2 weeks for system maintenance. Thanks for understanding. And you say, of course, you won't need to. Best regards, your beloved client. P.S. We know that the favorite color of our director is fuchsia. So do you think we can give her a nicer price? Okay, we will see. So let's go for the same way that we did before, and is to identify what are the outputs, what are the inputs, what are the remote control panels if there are, what are the pilot panels that we need, and what are the users that we need in pilot, and what are the pilot panels. So outputs. Summarizing the email, we have 3 zones: open space, director's office, and meeting room. So again, we will go to the Hangar, log out and log in again. User access, admin, Google Chrome complaining because everything is admin. And we go outputs. We would, well, name the 3 outputs. Again, I have the project already done from before, so I'm loading it. Example 2, corporate, this is it. Whenever you have the same installation to be repeated, that is something to be taken into account. Okay, so you save the project in your PC and you just load it in every new installation. Okay, so now it's loaded. We have in outputs the open space area, the director's office, and the meeting room. Good. Inputs, we have 5 sources, if you remember. We have the background music player. We have a PC also, that sometimes we play music from the PC. We have an evacuation player that has to overwrite everything playing at that moment when it starts playing. And then we have a couple of remote inputs, remote input in the meeting room and a remote input in the director's office. So if we remember, background music player and PC will be connected to, can be connected to any input. So let's go for input 1 and 2. Then the evacuation player, it has to overwrite everything. So it has to be in a priority input. Priorities input in hub 1616 are from 5 to 8, correct? So we choose input 5. And then the remotes. Remotes will be a WPA mix T, that wall panel that is a mixer 2x1, WPA mix T, with talkover, by the way, connected directly to the remote inputs. So inputs, remote inputs 1 and 2 will be for the meeting room and for the remote input in the director's office. Okay. Okay, the first 3 inputs local, the last 2 are remote. Fine. What panels do we need? Well, sorry, let's go to check the inputs. Let's go to check the inputs. Background music player and PC in 1 and 2, evacuation in number 5, and then remotes. Okay, number 1 is, I am in the output still. Okay, inputs, background music player number 1, perfect. Number 2, labeled PC, perfect. Number 5, evacuation player, good. But how do I know that it is overwriting everything and it's on priority? Well, we go to pagers and duckers. Okay. Input, it was in input 5. It's in priority 4. Well, first we have to enable it. and we will put it in priority 1 because it's for emergencies and affecting all areas. Okay, well, now we only have 3 areas, but maybe in the future we want to generate a 4th zone or a 5th zone. So we better leave them enabled, active, so we don't forget about this when we make the system grow. Okay, now the Docker is already set in priority 1, connected in input number 5. And then we have a couple of remote inputs, the meeting room and the director's office, correct? All good. Then, well, first, remote wall panels, Here we don't have any remote wall panel because the guys said that they don't want controls and touch screens all around the office, right? They want to control everything from their phones. So they won't want any panel. So remote wall panels we don't have. Next thing are the panels, but these panels are the application panel, the pilot panels, all right? We identified that we need 4 different panels. One is the general volume that will affect all areas excepting the director's office. The other panel will control the open space, the open office. The third panel will control the director's office volume and source selection. And finally, the meeting room panel. Okay, so basically 1 panel per zone plus the general volume panel that we will choose what zones is it affecting. F, okay. And then the users, how many users? Well, the director will have full access. The team will have access to the open space and meeting room. And then we will create another user for the guests, okay? That will control when a guest comes to do a presentation in our meeting room, he will be able to control the volume himself. So again, we go to users first. Users first, and we create 3 users. Director with this password, not 000 anymore. Now it's director. General, we could say team. Okay, instead of general, not to get confused with general volume control, right? So let's make it team. And then the guest that will have 1, 2, 3, 4. Once the users are defined, I can assign panels to every user. So here, the general volume. Who will be operating the general volume? The director and the team. Okay, the general volume is a general volume panel. Is that specific case where we have the general volume panel. So let's see what are the areas that the general volume is affecting. All of them. No, we don't want this. We want to control all of them excepting the director's office. We don't want the team messing around with the volume in the director's office. She wants intimacy. All right. So general volume will be seen again by director and the team, and it will only apply, or it will only control the common areas, let's say space, office, and meeting room. Other panels, the open space will be seen by who? By the director and the team. The director's office will only be seen by user 1 director, okay? And the meeting room, it's the only, this is not a public panel, let's make it a private panel. And the users that will control this panel are, actually we can make it all of them, because we want the guest to control it, but also the team and the director. So all of them is fine, all users. Okay. And the source selection here in the meeting room it's no source, background music player, PC, but also remember that we want the local input in the meeting room, the remote meeting room input. That's input 9. So we have to select this here. And the director's office, let's see if she can control her remote input. Remote director's office. Now it's enabled. Okay. Then they said that the well favorite color was fuchsia, right? So here we have chance to satisfy her. Perfect. Background fuchsia. Text white. Controls white. It will be a little bit shocking. We'll see. Director's office. Let's see the panels that she will see in her phone. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. She will control the volume, the source selection like this, and a little bit of tone control. So now that we have her happy and satisfied, we're done. Actually, this table will also help seeing what user can see what panel. Okay, general volume. These are the panels. All right, open space, director's office, meeting room, and the user. So this user can see all of them. Guest user can only see the meeting room. Okay, doing a table like this may also help configuring the hub. Conclusion: even if you don't use all inputs and outputs, it's still worth using a hub. Okay, that is very important. We're done. We are on time. So thank you very much, all those who reached here. Jose, I don't know if you can, if I need to unmute you or you can do it yourself.
I'm here. I'm back.
Okay, okay, you're here.
That's
Fantastic.
right. That's right. No, no problem. I just wanted to repeat something because I know people join after we started.
Okay.
Well, if you want to ask a question, more importantly, you can drop it in your Q and answer section down there in the bottom bar, or I think we have a couple of them in the chat. If I'm not wrong, yes. Okay, I'm gonna try not to butcher the names, but we have a question from Thomas Sichara, okay, which is with the WPA mixed T, sorry, we connected to the remote port or to the input port. I guess the input port from the hub, I guess.
Yeah, to the remote input. To the remote input. Look, let me go back. Or here. Here we have the remote inputs. This WPA mixed T actually can be connected to a remote input or yes, or to another local input. Yeah, if the distance allows it, yes, because in the end what we have there is just a balanced audio signal, so it can go whatever we want. Yeah, to both of them.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Thomas, for the question. I wanted also to point it out after you make the presentation that these examples can also be, taken to their own projects. You can extrapolate it there and adapt it to whatever project you have.
Actually, we can share these files if you want to play with them. We can share these projects. Yeah, the project. Look, when you save the project here in the configuration. When you save the project, you give it a name, webinar, example 2. When you save it, it saved a file with an extension of hub 1616 if you are in hub 1616, hub 1408 if it's 1408. Okay, and these files you see that are very light, so we can share them.
Great. Easily. What we're going to do is as you may know, and as our attendants know, that we post every webinar in our webinar support website, which is ecler.com support webinars. There you have also the product focused webinar we did a couple months ago. We got in the hub series, and when we publish this one, we can add the projects there. Okay, so they can download it there and use it. Okay, we have another question here from Gunters Plus.
Gunters, how are you?
Yes, Gunters asking you,
Tell me.
May I access the device? Sorry, I'm trying to read here.
Yep.
Several users with the same user and the password at the same time.
No, several users. No, several users at the same time. No,
Yes.
not possible. Only one user at a time.
Okay.
Wait. Well, wait. The device or the panels? Because if it's the panels, yes, all 20 users can be connected at the same time, operating their own panels from their phones at the same time.
Maybe,
Yes.
maybe for the same panel to several people at the same time for the same panel.
Yes, yeah. If you and me are seeing the same panel in our phone, as soon as I modify something, you will be seeing it modified in your phone.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yes.
Yes. Okay. Preet, we're going there. Hang on, I know you up your hand. Okay, so Max, now I was asking you, is it possible to save, import, and export configurations and presets?
Yes. I think it's what I just did, right? Load. Yeah. Save everything that is set here in inputs, outputs, panels, everything. All the selection, all the configuration done can be saved. Yes, and loaded in another hub. Yes.
Okay. So we have two questions here from Gunter and Max at the same time, and they're asking about the X-over filter.
Yep.
Okay, so does it have a crossover function to configure a channel for a subwoofer feed, for example?
Yes. The crossover filter, for example, in this, well, in this output 5, we have the selection here of low pass filter or high pass filter, and here we set the cross frequency. Yeah, this is it.
There you go. So thank Gunther and Mr. Max for the question. Okay, there we go. For Jaspreet, have another question here.
Yep.
He's asking how many microphones can be connected or daisy chained?
No, not daisy chained. If okay, microphones in the device. Microphones, look, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 microphone inputs here. And then in the remote inputs, if you're using WPA Mix-T, you can connect 8 microphones more. But if you want paging microphones, they cannot be daisy chained. Paging microphones, only 2, pager A and pager B in input 7 and 8 here. Okay.
Great, thank you very much. We have another question. Okay, from Abul Kalam. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the name, it's not my intention. For the remote input, how long we can run the cable?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know if we have anyone from the technical team here and can give us some help on this.
Yes.
It might be in the manual. It's a Cat5 cable, so meanwhile it is a shielded cable and so on. It should be pretty long distance. I don't know, maybe 100 meters, I would say. But let's check with someone who really understands and who really knows this.
Yeah, what we can do actually is after the webinar, if you have this answer, we can just contact you directly, Abu Kalam, so we can just send you the answer there. Okay. And
it might be in the manual anyway.
Yes, also you can consult it in the manual. I'm sure it's there. Okay. We have another question here.
Yep.
Mr. Marcel is asking how many EM control ones and WPA Mix-T, sorry, we can connect.
8. As many as remote inputs we have. So we have 8 remote inputs. In every remote input, we can connect an EM control 1 plus a WPA Mix-T. So up to 8. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Look, taking into account the last question we have about how many meters we can connect. For example, Jasper is telling us that he has tried already 300 meters and it worked perfectly. Okay, so.
Okay, thanks, Prit, for that. Right. Thank you. Then
thank you for the data there.
Okay, 300 is possible. Okay.
No, thanks to you, Preet. Okay, we have, I think, that last one question I have here. Gunter's is asking how is I think it's referring to the crossover filter again, and how it's connected to one zone. I mean, sub and top. I think he's asking for the subwoofer and the normal loudspeaker for the single zones regarding the crossover filter.
Yeah, if you would use like output 9 for the sub, right? Oh, crossover and delays are only available here from output 1 to 8. Okay. So if you're using, for example, output 8 for the subwoofer, okay, then you enable it. You set a low pass filter with this cut, and then the same source here. You have source selection, all right. Imagine you have the background music player here, and then the same source is going to output 7. It's background music player, yes. And the crossover would be a high pass filter,
right,
at the same cut.
Right, perfect. You just have to make sure that actually 2 outputs dedicated for these functions.
Yes, 2 outputs. Yeah, we would use 2 outputs for that.
For our subwoofer output and a normal one. Okay, great. Thanks to you, Max, for the question. Here we have, thank you very much. No, thanks to everyone, actually. I think we didn't have more questions here, but just before we close down, just want to point out a couple of things. These webinars, you may know, it will be published in our social media and our YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed yet, go and subscribe Ecler YouTube channel, because we have a lot of videos coming up, and the videos from the webinar are already there. Before we go, there is a very quick poll there. Okay, we're going to launch a quick poll, and it's important for us because we keep improving the content based on your answers. So please answer the poll. Is going to take less than a minute. Okay, and we will see you again very soon for another webinar. John, if you have something else to share.
No, right after the poll, I will show where are the resources for the hub in the website, and that's all. That's all is left to say.
Great. Okay, so thank you, everyone. We're gonna get the poll there for like a couple of minutes. It's not gonna take longer than that, and we hope to see you again soon. Okay. Thank you, John, for the amazing examples.
Thanks, Jose.
Any other questions that you have? Remember, we have you have Jan's email. I'm gonna write it down in the chat if you want to ask him anything specifically regarding Hub series. Okay, and of course, if you have another request regarding marketing, we have marketing at ecler.com. So contact us there for any other requirement you have. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. And Jan, hope to see you again soon again.
Sure. We will. Thanks, Jose.
Thanks. Take care.
Okay, so seems that everyone has more or less finished the quiz already, the poll. Just a final information, okay? I'm closing this. It's almost 2 minutes now. 2 minutes, 3, 2, 1, go.
Take care.
Then to find the resources and everything, all right, you go to our website, ecler.com, and in audio, digital processors and matrices, and then digital matrices, you have the Hub 1616 and Hub 1408, okay, the Hub series. Inside the Hub series, if you go inside every model, you will find the user manual. Okay, you have the user manual for the Hub itself, the user manual for the Hangar and the pilot application, the third-party net, the TP-net control manual as well for third-party control, and a quick guide, okay, for the plug-and-play thing. Then you also have here the data sheet. And in software, you may find the latest software version and firmware versions, okay? And that Hangar demo link that we have been using today is also here in software, okay? And then in media, you have tutorials and presentations, all right? So check this out whenever you need some more help with the Hub. And finally, to always be updated to all our news, all right, go to ecler.com, scroll down and subscribe to our newsletter. This is very important to be updated because many things are coming. Okay, new launches are coming very, very soon and pretty interesting, specifically for the corporate market. So all those interested on this, don't delay it more and subscribe. Okay,
it's important to be there so you can know about that information.
All right, guys, we're done. Thank you very much for being here, for listening to the webinar, and we will speak soon. Have a good day.